Jonas watched as his father poured a fresh cup of
the next
coffee.
afternoon.
He waited.
Do you ever think about release?
You know, his father finally
You mean
said,
my own release?
every
or just
December
the
was
general
exciting to
topic
me
of
when I was
release?
young. And it has
Both,
been for you
I
and
guess.
Lily, too,
I apologize.
I'm sure.
I mean,
each
I should have
December
been more
brings
precise.
such changes.
I don't know exactly
Jonas
what I
nodded.
meant.
He could remember the Decembers
Sit
back
back
to
up.
when he had become,
No need to lie
probably
down
a
while we're
four.
talking.
The earlier ones were lost to him.
Jonas,
But he
who
observed
had already
them
been
each
stretched
year,
out on the bed
and he
when the
remembered
question
Lily's
came to his
earliest
mind,
Decembers.
sat back up.
He remembered when his family received Lily.
I guess I
the
do
day
think
she was
about it
named,
occasionally,
the day that
the
she had
giver
become
said.
a one.
I think about
The
my
ceremony
own
for the
release when
ones
I'm
was
in an
always
awful lot
noisy
of
and
pain.
fun.
I wish I could
Each
put in a
December,
request for it
all
sometimes.
the new children born in
but
the
I'm not
previous
permitted
year
to do
turned
that until
one.
the new receiver is
One
trained.
at a time. There were always
Me,
50 in each year's group,
Jonas
if
said,
none had been released.
in a dejected voice.
They had been brought to the stage by
He was
the
not
nurturers
looking forward to the end
who
of the
had cared
training
for them
when he
since
would
birth.
become the new receiver.
Some were already
It was
walking,
clear to him what a
wobbly
terribly
on their
difficult and
unsteady
lonely
legs.
life it was. Despite
Others
the
were no
honor.
more than a few days old,
I
wrapped
can't
in blankets,
request release
held
either,
by their nurturers.
Jonas pointed out.
I enjoy
It was
the
in my
naming,
rules.
Jonas said. His
The
mother
giver
agreed,
laughed
smiling.
harshly.
The year we got Lily,
I know that.
we knew, of course, that we'd received
They
our
hammered out
female
those rules
because
after
we'd
the
made our
failure 10
application
years
and been
ago.
approved. But I'd
Jonas
been
had
wondering
heard again and
wondering
again
what her
now
name would be.
reference to the previous
I could have
failure.
sneaked a look at the list prior
But
to the
he
ceremony.
still did not know
Father
what had
confided.
happened 10 years
The committee
before.
always makes the list in advance,
Giver,
and it's right there in the
he
office
said.
at the nurturing center.
Tell me what happened.
As a matter of fact, he
Please.
went on, I feel a little
The giver
guilty about
shrugged.
this, but I did go in this
On the
afternoon
surface, it
and
was
look
quite
to see
simple.
if this year's naming list
A
had been
receiver
made
to be
yet.
was selected
It was
the way
right there
you
in the
were.
office,
The
and I looked
selection
up
went
number
smoothly
36.
enough.
That's
The ceremony was
the little
held,
guy I've been
and the
concerned
selection
about.
was made.
Because it occurred
The
to
crowd
me that it
cheered,
might enhance
as they
his
did for
nurturing
you.
if I could call him by
The
name.
new receiver was
Just
puzzled and a
privately,
little
of course,
frightened
when
as
no
you
one else
were.
is around. Did
My
you find
parents
it?
told me it was a
Jonas
female.
asked. He was
The
fascinated.
giver nodded.
It didn't seem a terribly important
Jonas thought of
rule,
his favorite
but
female,
the fact that his
Fiona,
father had
and
broken a
shivered.
rule at all,
He wouldn't
awed
want
him.
his gentle friend to suffer
He
the way
glanced
he
at
had,
his mother,
taking on
the
the
one
memories.
responsible for adherence
was
to
she
the
like?
rules,
He
and
asked
was
the
relieved
giver.
that she was smiling.
The giver looked
His
sad,
father nodded.
thinking about it.
His name,
She was a
if he makes it to
remarkable
the
young
naming
woman,
without being released,
very
of course,
self-possessed
is to be
and
Gabriel.
serene, intelligent.
So I whisper
eager
that to him
learn.
when I feed him every 4 hours,
He shook
and
his
during
head and drew a
exercise and
deep breath.
playtime, if no one can hear me.
You know, Jonas,
I call him
when
Gabe,
she came to me
actually,
in this room,
he said, and
when she
grinned.
presented herself to
Gabe.
begin her training,
Jonas tried it
interrupted
out.
him with a question.
A good name.
Can you tell me
he
her name?
decided.
My parents said that it wasn't to
Though
be spoken
Jonas had
again
only
in the
become
community.
a 5 the
but
year
couldn't
that
you
they
say it
acquired
just to
Lily
me?
and learned her name, he remembered the excitement,
The giver
the
hesitated
conversations at
painfully,
home, wondering
as if
about
saying
her, how
the
she would
name
look,
aloud might be
who she
excruciating.
would be, how she would fit into
Her
their
name was
established
Rosemary.
family unit.
He
He
told
remembered
Jonas
climbing the
finally.
steps to the stage with his
Rosemary.
parents, his father
like
by
that
his
name.
side that year instead of with the
The
nurturers,
giver went on.
since it was the year that he
When
would
she
be
came to
given a
me
new
for the
child
first
of his
time,
own.
she sat there in
He
the
remembered
chair
his
where you
mother
sat on your
taking the new
first day.
child,
She
his
was
sister,
eager and excited
into
and
her
a little
arms.
scared. We
While the
talked.
document was
I
read
tried
to
to
the
explain
assembled
things
family
as well as I
units.
could. The way you
New
did to
child
me,
23.
the giver chuckled
the name I had
ruefully.
read.
The
Lily.
explanations are difficult.
He remembered
The whole
his
thing
father's
is so
look of
beyond
delight,
one's
and that
experience.
his father had whispered,
But I tried,
"She's one of my
and she listened
favorites."
carefully.
I was hoping
Her
for her
eyes
to be
were
the
very
one.
luminous, I
The
remember.
crowd had clapped, and Jonas had
He looked up
grinned.
suddenly.
He liked his sister's
Jonas,
name.
I gave
Lily,
you a
barely
memory that I
awake,
told you was
waved
my
her small
favorite.
fist. Then
I
they had
still
stepped
have a
down to
shred
make
of it
room
left.
for the next
the
family
room with the
unit.
family and grandparents.
When I was
Jonas
in 11,
nodded. Of course
his
he
father said
remembered.
now.
Yes,
As you are,
he said.
Jonas.
It
I
had
was
that
very
wonderful
impatient,
feeling with it.
waiting for
You
the
told me it was
ceremony of
love.
12. It's a long 2
You can
days.
understand then
I remember that I enjoyed
that's
the
what I
ones,
felt
as I
for
always do,
Rosemary.
but that
The
I didn't
giver
pay much
explained.
attention to the other
I loved
ceremonies,
her.
except for my sisters.
I
She
feel it
became
for you,
9
too.
that year and got her bicycle.
He added.
I'd been teaching her to
What
ride
happened to
mine,
her?
even though technically I wasn't
Jonas
supposed to.
asked.
Jonas laughed.
Training began.
It was one of the few rules
She
that was
received
not
well,
taken
as
very
you do.
seriously
She
and
was
was
so
almost always
enthusiastic,
broken.
so delighted to
The
experience
children all
new
received
things.
their bicycles
I remember
at
her
9.
laughter.
They were not allowed to ride bicycles before
voice
then,
faltered
but almost
and
always
trailed
the
off.
older brothers and
What
sisters had
happened?
secretly
Jonas
taught the
asked
younger
again
ones.
after a moment.
Jonas
Please
had
tell
been
me.
thinking already about teaching Lily.
The giver closed his
There was
eyes.
talk about changing the rule and giving the
broke my
bicycles
heart,
at an
Jonas,
earlier
to
age.
transfer pain to
A
her.
committee was studying the idea.
But it was my job.
When
It was what I
something
had
went
to
to a
do,
committee
the
for
way I've
study,
had to do it to
the
you.
people always joked about it.
The
They
room was
said that the
silent.
committee members would become
Jonas
elders by the
waited.
time the rule change was made.
Finally, the giver continued.
Rules were very hard to change.
5 weeks.
Sometimes,
That was all.
if it was a very
I
important
gave
rule,
her happy
unlike the
memories,
one
a
governing the
ride
age
on
for
a
bicycles,
merry-go-round, a
it would have to
kitten
go
to play
eventually
with, a
to the
picnic.
receiver for a decision.
Sometimes
The
I
receiver
chose
was the
one
most
just because
important
I knew
elder.
it would make her laugh.
Jonas had never
and
even
I
seen
so
him that he
treasured the
knew of.
sound of that laughter
Someone
in
in a
this
position
room
of
that
such
had always been
importance
so
lived and worked
silent.
alone. But the
she
committee
was
would
like
never
you,
bother the
Jonas.
receiver with a question
She
about
wanted to
bicycles.
experience
They would
everything.
simply fret and
She
argue
knew
about it themselves
that
for
it was
years,
her responsibility,
until the citizens
and so she
forgot that
asked
it had
me
ever
for
gone
more
to them for
difficult
study.
memories.
His father continued.
Jonas held his
So
breath
I
for a
watched and
moment.
cheered when my sister
You
Katya
didn't give her war,
became
did
a
you?
9 and removed her hair ribbons
Not
and
after
got her
just
bicycle.
5 weeks.
Father went on. Then I didn't pay much
giver
attention
shook his
to the
head
10s and
and
11s,
sighed.
and finally, at the
No.
end of the second day, which
And I
seemed to
didn't
go
give her
on
physical
forever, it was
pain.
my turn.
But I gave
It
her
was the
loneliness,
ceremony of 12.
and I gave her loss.
Jonas shivered.
I transferred a
He pictured
memory
his
of a
father, who
child
must have
taken
been a
from its
shy
parents.
and quiet boy.
That was
Well,
the
he
first
was a shy
one.
and quiet man,
She
seated
appeared
with his
stunned
group,
at
waiting
its
to be
end.
called to the stage.
Jonas
The ceremony
swallowed.
of 12 was the last of the
Rosemary and her
ceremonies.
laughter had begun
Most
to seem
important.
real to him. And
I remember
he
how
pictured her
proud
looking
my
up from the
parents
bed
looked,
of memories,
and my sister
shocked.
too. Even though
The
she
giver
wanted to be
continued.
out riding the
I
bicycle
backed
publicly,
off.
she
Gave her
stopped
more little
fidgeting and was
delights.
very still and
But everything
attentive when my turn
changed
came.
once she knew about pain.
But to be
I could
honest,
see
Jonas,
it in her eyes.
his father said,
She wasn't brave
for me
enough?
there was not the element of
Jonas
suspense that
suggested.
there is with your ceremony.
The giver didn't respond
because
to
I
the
was already
question.
fairly certain of what
She
my
insisted
assignment
that
was
I
to be.
continue, that I not spare her.
Jonas was surprised.
She said it was her duty.
There was no way really to
and
know
I knew,
in advance.
of course, that she
it was a secret
correct.
selection made by
I
the
couldn't
leaders
bring
of the
myself
community,
to inflict
the committee
physical
of
pain on
elders,
her.
who took the
But I
responsibility
gave
so
her anguish
seriously
of many
that there were never
kinds.
even any jokes
Poverty
made about
and
assignments.
hunger.
His mother
and
seemed
terror.
surprised too.
I had to, Jonas.
How
it
could
was
you
my
have known?
job.
She
And
asked.
she had been chosen.
His father smiled his gentle smile.
The giver looked at him imploringly.
It was clear to me.
Jonas
and my parents later
stroked his
confessed that it
hand.
had been obvious to them too.
Finally,
what
one
my
afternoon,
aptitude was.
we finished for the
I
day.
had always loved the new children
It had been
more
a
than
hard
anything.
session.
When my friends
tried
of
to
my age
finish,
group
as
were
I do
holding
with
bicycle
you,
races or
by
building
transferring
toy
something
vehicles
happy
or
and
bridges
cheerful.
with their construction sets,
The times of laughter
all
were
the
gone
things
by
I do with
then.
my friends.
She stood
Jonas
up very
pointed
silently,
out, and his mother nodded in
frowning,
agreement.
as if
I
she
always
were making the
participated,
decision.
of course, because as children
Then
we
she
must
came over
experience
to
all
me
of
and
those
put her
things.
arms around me.
And I studied
She
hard in
kissed my
school as
cheek.
you do, Jonas. But again
As
and
Jonas
again,
watched,
during free time,
the giver
I
stroked
found
his own
myself drawn
cheek,
to the new children.
recalling the touch
I spent
of
almost all of my
Rosemary's lips
volunteer
10 years
hours
before.
helping in the nurturing center.
She left
Of course,
here
the
that
elders
day,
knew that from their
left
observation.
this room,
Jonas nodded.
did not go back to her
During the
dwelling.
past year, he had been aware of the
I was
increasing level
notified
of
by the speaker
observation.
that she had gone
In
directly to
school,
the
at
chief
recreation
elder and
time
asked
and
to
during
be
volunteer
released.
hours, he had noticed
But it's
the elders
against the
watching
rules.
him and the other 11s.
The receiver in
He had
training
seen them
can't
taking
apply
notes.
for it. It's in
He
your
knew, too,
rules,
that the
Jonas.
elders were meeting for long
But
hours
it
with all of
wasn't
the
in
instructors
hers.
that he and the other 11s
She
had
asked
had during
for
their years of
release.
school.
And
So I
had to give it
expected
to
it,
her.
and I was pleased, but not at all surprised
never
when my
saw her
assignment was
again.
announced as nurturer. Father explained.
So that was the failure, Jonas
Did everyone
thought.
applaud, even
It
though
was
they weren't
obvious that it
surprised?
saddened the
Jonas
giver
asked.
very deeply.
Oh, of course.
But it
they were
didn't
very
seem
happy
such a
for
terrible
me
thing,
that my
after
assignment
all.
was what I wanted
And
most.
he, Jonas, would
I
never
felt
have
very
done it.
fortunate.
Never have
His father
requested
smiled.
release, no matter how
Were any of the
difficult his
11s
training
disappointed
became.
your year?
The giver
Jonas
needed a
asked.
successor.
Unlike his father,
And he
he
had
had
been
no
chosen.
idea what his assignment would be.
A thought
But he knew
occurred to
that some would
Jonas.
disappoint him.
Rosemary
Though
had
he
been released
respected
very
his
early
father's
in her
work,
training.
nurturer would not be his
What if
wish.
something happened to
and
him?
he didn't envy
Jonas.
laborers at all.
He had a whole year's
His father
worth of
thought,
memories now.
No, I don't
Giver,
think so.
he asked.
Of course, the elders are so
I
careful
can't
in their
request release.
observations
I
and
know
selections.
that. But what if something happened, an
I think
accident?
it's
What if I
probably
fell
the most
into the
important
river like
job
the
in our
little
community,
four Caleb
his mother
did?
commented.
Well, that doesn't make sense because
My
I'm
friend
a good swimmer.
Yoshiko was
But
surprised by her
what if I
selection as
couldn't
doctor,
swim
Father
and fell
said,
into
but she
the
was
river and was
thrilled.
lost?
And let's see,
then there
was
wouldn't be a new
Andre.
receiver.
I
But you would
remember that
already
when
have
we
given
were
away an
boys, he
awful
never
lot of
wanted to do
important
physical
memories, so
things.
even though they
He spent all the
selected new
recreation
receiver,
time he could with
the
his
memories would
construction
be
set,
gone except
and his
for the
volunteer
shreds that
hours
you
were
have
always
left
on
of them.
building sites.
And then what if
The elders knew that, of course.
He started to
Andre
laugh
was
suddenly.
given the assignment of engineer.
I
and he
sound
was
like my
delighted.
sister Lily.
Andre
He
later
said,
designed the bridge
amused
that
at
crosses
himself.
the river to the west of town.
The
Jonas's
giver looked
mother
at him
said.
gravely.
Wasn't there when we were
You
children.
just stay away from the river,
There
my
are very
friend.
rarely disappointments,
said.
Jonas.
The
I don't
community
think you need
lost
to worry
Rosemary
about
after
that,
5
his
weeks,
father reassured
and it was
him.
a disaster for
And if
them.
there are, you know,
I
there's
don't
an
know
appeal
what
process.
the community would do if they
But
lost
they all
you.
laughed at that. An appeal went to a
Why
committee
was it
for
a
study.
disaster?
I
think
worry
I
a little
mentioned
about
to you
Asher's
once.
assignment, Jonas
The giver
confessed.
reminded him
Asher's such
that when she
fun,
was gone,
but he doesn't really have
memories
any
came
serious
back to the
interests.
people.
He makes a game
If
out
you
of
were to
everything.
be lost in the the river,
His father
Jonas.
chuckled.
Your
"You
memories
know,"
would not be
he
lost
said.
with you.
I remember when Asher was
Memories
a new
are
child at the
forever.
nurturing center before he was named.
Rosemary had only
He never
those 5
cried.
weeks' worth.
He giggled
and most
and laughed
of them
at
were good
everything.
ones.
All of us
But
on the
there
staff
were
enjoyed
those
nurturing
few
Asher.
terrible memories.
The elders
ones
know
that had
Asher, his
overwhelmed
mother
her.
said. They'll
For a
find
while,
exactly
they
the right
overwhelmed the
assignment for
community.
him. I don't think you need to worry about
those
him.
feelings.
But Jonas, let me
They'd
warn you
never
about something
experienced
that may not have
before.
occurred to you. I know I didn't
I was
think
so
about it until
devastated
after
by
my
my own
ceremony
grief
of
at her
12.
loss and my
What's
own
that?
feeling of failure that
Well,
I didn't even try
it's
to
the
help
last
him
of the
through
ceremonies,
it.
as you know.
I was angry,
After
too.
12, age isn't important.
The giver was quiet
Most
for a
of us
moment,
even lose track of how old
obviously
we are
thinking.
as time passes, though the
You know,
information is in the
he
Hall
said
of Open
finally,
Records, and we could
if
go
they
and look it
lost
up if we
you,
wanted to.
with all the training
What's
you've had now,
important is
they'd
the
have all
preparations
those
for adult
memories
life
again themselves.
and the training you'll receive in your assignment.
Jonas made a face.
I know that.
They'd hate
Jonas
that.
said. Everyone knows that.
They certainly would.
But it
they wouldn't
means,
know how to
his
deal
mother
with it
went
at
on,
all.
that you'll move
The
into
only
a
way
new
I
group,
deal with it is by having
and
you
each
there
of
to
your
help
friends
me.
will.
Jonas
You'll
pointed
no
out
longer
with a
be spending
sigh.
your time with your group
The
of
giver
11s.
nodded.
After
I
the
suppose,
ceremony of
he
12,
said slowly,
you'll
that I
be
could...
with your assignment group
could what?
with those in training. No
The
more
giver was still
volunteer
deep in
hours,
thought.
no more recreation
After a moment, he
hours. So
said,
your friends will no longer be as close.
if you floated off in the river,
Jonas shook his head.
I suppose I could help the
Asher
whole
and I
community
will always be
the way
friends,
I've helped you.
he said firmly. And there
It's
will
an
still be
interesting
school.
concept.
That's true, his father
I need to
agreed.
think about it some more.
What your mother said is true as well.
Maybe we'll talk
There will
about it
be
again
changes.
sometime.
Good
But not
changes,
now.
though, his mother pointed out.
I'm
After
glad
my
you're a good
ceremony
swimmer,
of 12,
Jonas.
I missed my childhood
But
recreation.
stay away
But when I
from
entered
the
my
river.
training for law and justice, I found myself with people who shared
He
my
laughed a little.
interests. I made
The
friends on a
laughter
new
was not
level, friends
lighthearted.
of all ages.
His thoughts seemed to be elsewhere.
Did you still play at all after
and
12?
his eyes
Jonas
were very
asked.
troubled.
Occasionally, his mother replied, but it didn't seem as important to me. I did, his father said, laughing. I still do, every day, at the nurturing center.